This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic. What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is July 13th, 2023. Jonathan Osborne here. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Luke Sylvia. Luke, we just watched the Summer League game going overtime and the Magic lost. How are you?
Well, I blame producer Kevin for any semblance of overtime. He was over here talking about triple overtimes and this overtime, whatever. I am just thankful that that overtime has a target score and that it's not like an actually played out one, especially for us to just lose. Jett Howard got me a little excited there at the in the overtime period. So with that big time shot.
Jett Howard had us excited really at different points throughout the game. I think he had like a 19-point first half, had a big three to tie it up in overtime before the Knicks went down the other end and scored and won with that Elam ending. We'll talk more about the game that we just watched from Wednesday against the Knicks, but we're also going to talk about Monday's game against the Indiana Pacers as well. 2 Summer League games since our last episode. However, before we get into that, folks, as you're listening to this tonight, producer Kevin, Luke, myself, producer Kevin's done all of the 3 Summer League games. You and I have jumped in at times for the other games, and for the most part, we've done the last 2 games. We've been on Playback. If you guys are not familiar with Playback, Playback is like a group watch platform that we have partnered with and have joined Playback to watch. Right now we're doing Summer League games of the Orlando Magic. It's been a lot of fun to kind of do that as a community, and you have the chat, and Monday night we had some folks join us on stage where everybody can hear your voice, you can give your takes, talk about the game, you can even turn your camera on if you want. So it's been a lot of fun. We're continuing that tonight as you all are listening to this Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern. Our Playback will probably start around 8:45. The Magic are playing in their 4th Summer League game. This game is going to be against the Portland Trail Blazers. And we've been getting a lot of questions on whether or not we're going to do this in the regular season. We would absolutely love to. But Bally and the, broadcast companies that they're making their products available to right now are sort of hit and miss, for lack of a better term, without getting into too much detail. So we would love to do this for the regular season. Right now, we're just kind of standing pat, and we'll see what happens. If we can do these during the regular season, we will. So just be on the lookout for more details. But Luke, I've had a lot of fun doing this. Like, seeing our reactions to certain clips has been fun.
Yeah, and also I'll add that, a point that you or Kevin made during the Playback broadcast tonight was that if it's a nationally televised game, we have all intentions of utilizing Playback if we are able to do that. So that doesn't mean that if you guys miss Summer League or you don't really want to tune into Summer League and do Playback as a result with us, that's totally fine. We still can line it up for the upcoming season if the opportunity presents itself. So, keep that in the back of your head as well. We'll be promoting it obviously when that comes around. But yeah, it's been fun. Usually, Jonathan, we're texting through watching games together, and there's always a delay. So we're scared to text because we're like, we don't want to spoil it for the other person or people in the chat. So it was cool it's always good to be able to watch it on a synced stream together. You literally never get to do that unless you watch a game in the room with somebody. So it's a really cool, environment that Playback has created, and created some really funny moments already. Only 3 Summer League games in. I can only imagine if we were able to do regular season games and do them often. I know that a lot of people would tune in, and we would have a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, it's been awesome.
It's been a ton of fun. So if you're interested in that at all, whether you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, really wherever, we're posting those links when we go live. But if you're not on social media, if you just type in playback.tv/Sixth Man Show Summer League, you'll be able to find our broadcast. And we're trying to see if we can update that link for the regular season So it'll be at the same place, but it may be a different link. So when you log into Playback, you can subscribe to our channel, and then hopefully like throughout the year when we do broadcasts, you guys will be able to join us. So it's been a lot of fun doing those. Luke, a little bit of Orlando Magic news here before we talk about the past couple of Summer League games. It's been reported, Magic announced, rather, I should say, about this part, that they have officially re-signed Mo Wagner. I think they officially announced the signing of Joe Ingles last Saturday, and we've been waiting for the official signing of Mo Wagner, but that was able to take place. When was that now? I don't remember exactly when that was. I think it might have been Monday, if I'm not mistaken, or potentially Tuesday. The days are just kind of blurring together here in the offseason. But the Orlando Sentinel's Jason Beatty reported that per a league source that the contract is for 2 years, $16 million, so $8 million a year, with that second year being a club option. And I looked it up on Spotrac now. Spotrac is confirming that the 2024-2025 club option for Mo Wagner, the deadline for that is going to be June 29th of next year. So again, the day before free agency. So Luke, now that we have really the full details of these deals, Joe Ingles, 2 years, $22 million, second year is a club option. Mo Wagner, 2 years, $16 million deal, second year is a club option. What are your thoughts on those signings in particular? And then when you just look at the Magic's free agency altogether?
Yeah, I mean, in particular, I think that really, for the most part, everything that we saw officially happen was as reported. For Joe Ingles, beginning of free agency, then you wait a few days, you get the Mo Wagner news. It's all relatively, what we thought it was going to be. I'm glad that there was nothing that held anybody up, really, and they got it done, pen to paper. But as a whole, free agency, you free up, you maintain, I should say, long-term flexibility with these guys. You got club options for both of them. So the Magic really control what they want to do with the future of this team, and depending on how next season goes, they'll pull the trigger on one way or another, and I'm happy that they're able to do what they were able to do.
To me, it's so funny because, now the Magic have made these signings, and right now I think their total, their cap space, they're almost $6 million over the cap. But, we have the luxury tax in the league, which the threshold for that is $165 million. I think the Magic are like $147 million, if I'm not mistaken. So it's funny how you can operate over the cap, but also not be in the luxury tax. So it's is the cap really the cap? I know you can only re-sign your players, with bird rights, and stay, to sign those guys and be above the cap. But it's just really funny kind of how all that works. People talk about, well, does the cap exist? Well, it does. And, sometimes it kind of doesn't. So, but yeah, I'm right there with you. Sign Joe Ingles, re-sign Mo Wagner. Joe Ingles was definitely a need, veteran presence. I tweeted this out with re-signing Mo, signing Joe Ingles. The team achieved a few things. Got shooting, added a veteran presence, maintained long-term cap flexibility. Next year, just those two guys alone, you're able to free up $19 million in cap space if you decide to decline their team options. So did the Magic make a big splash? No. But overall, I still think it was a very solid free agency for the Magic, and they maintained continuity, which is a big thing there. Talking about continuity and talking about free agency, Jeff Weltman on Monday was on the Sirius XM NBA show with, I know it's Justin Termini, and I apologize to the other host of that show. I don't remember who it is. Justin, I think it was Frank Isola, if I'm not mistaken. But they had the chance to sit down and talk with Jeff Weltman. He said a few things during that interview that were pretty interesting. One of those being that the Magic are not ready to push their chips in. So reports coming up, really today, Wednesday, that the Magic are monitoring the situation with Pascal Siakam. I don't buy it. We talked about the Windhorse, comments at the beginning of free agency that the Magic might be looking to, press on the gas and move the team forward, but their actions, their words don't really match up with that. And sure, Jeff Weltman could be saying whatever so that he doesn't let on. But But I did find it interesting, that he made the point to say, like, hey, we're not ready to really push our chips in, and that we're still evaluating the young talent that we have.
Yeah, I think that doesn't come as a surprise, but it is interesting to hear him say it, that like to reveal any type of path that he's thinking and what his mindset is, and just to come out and say, we're not in a position. We understand we're young, and that's what kind of, I think what he paired with it was like, we're majority 21, 22 years old. This isn't, we're not, sprinting to the finish line is basically what he was getting at. So not too shocking, but it was interesting to hear him commit to much of anything, and he usually doesn't. So for him to come out and say it, yes, that definitely stood out.
Yeah, we had, as we were watching the Knicks game tonight, Anthony Parker, the new Magic general manager underneath Jeff Weltman, had an interview with, is it Beth Mowins, I believe it is, with PJ Carlissimo. They were calling the game. And it was pretty obvious after that we're not getting like another John Hammond, who is just going to be very forthcoming, with information and his dealings with the media. So definitely going to miss John Hammond always just saying what everybody else in the front office probably didn't want him to say. But yeah, it comes no surprise that, hey, we're still evaluating these guys. We're still super young. And alluding to what we've been talking about for a couple months on the podcast now, that, hey, yes, these guys are really, really good, but like just pump the brakes on like just wanting to rush to contention, because just historically speaking, 21, 22, 23-year-olds, like groups of 22, 23-year-olds don't get there. Like that, it's just kind of been the reality. Would love for the Magic to be the outlier, but the other thing that Jeff Weltman said that I thought was even more interesting, he was asked about Jonathan Isaac and where his health is, and this is his quote here. It says, "My expectation is that Jonathan will be healthy and he will have a great year." Goes on to say he's having a great summer. He looks terrific. And closed by saying the doctors seem to feel confident with it. He also seemed to imply, he didn't come out and directly say it, he said he's actually here with our team now. We had a practice this morning. So did he explicitly say Jonathan Isaac practiced with our team? No. But if you just kind of listen to the conversation and read the context clues, Luke, I know you and I both feel like that's kind of what he was saying.
Yeah, I would love to know for certain, because there's 100 different ways you could say it. I don't know if that's what he meant. Like, he could have also meant Jonathan Isaac is with us, and the reason I know that is because he was at the practice that was held this morning. I don't know how to take it, but I really heard everything I needed to hear when he says that the doctors aren't, think that he's good. He looks great physically, thinks that he's going to definitely be healthy this season. Those are all the things I really needed to hear. So he checked the boxes of what I wanted.
My ears perked up a little bit the second time that I listened through this. Whenever Jeff Weltman has been asked about Jonathan Isaac in the past, and even earlier in this conversation was asked about what are your expectations, and he said earlier in the interview, not talking about Jonathan Isaac, he said, we don't like to put expectations. Like, we just want to play better basketball, smarter basketball, so on and so forth. And almost every time he's ever been asked about Jonathan Isaac's health, he said he's doing the right things. He's doing everything that we're asking. We're going to be patient, so on and so forth. Asked about expectations, he said, my expectations are that he's going to be healthy and have a great year. If I'm playing devil's advocate here, if you were trying to boost his trade value, this is what you would say. You would want to give the outward appearance that he's healthy, he's going to have a great year. And I don't think that, like, it might have been absolutely nothing. It's just for a guy who maybe he's just sick of saying we don't want to put expectations or timetables on these guys, so on and so forth. Maybe Jonathan Isaac is really just that far along that he feels confident in saying this now. But I found that pretty interesting. It's most likely nothing. I don't know that it's anything, but it might be something.
That's interesting. I think little conspiracy Jonathan. coming out to play.
Paranoia, I think, is what I would call it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's an interesting theory. I'm not totally off board from it because you're right that not the normal response you get out of him for sure. Right?
Why would he do that? Why would he do that? I'm doing
Brian
the Windhorst fingers. Really quick question. This is a quick aside. Did you listen to or watch the JJ Redick interview with Wendy at all?
I did listen to majority, I think.
Very good. Wendy, low-key funny. I really appreciate that.
He is pretty funny.
Here is to hoping that Jonathan Isaac is going to be healthy and have a great season. That nothing would make me happier than that. And I still find it funny, however people feel personally about Jonathan Isaac, just the way that every chance people get, they just have to like joke and meme. It's like, all right, enough. Everybody's sick of hearing about it and talking about it. Quite obviously, we want the kid back on the court and looking forward to seeing him good to go for training camp. That would be fantastic. Luke, let's take a quick break to tell you all, our listeners, who this episode is brought to you by today. And as always, in every episode, it's brought to you by our wonderful patrons. If you're not familiar with what a patron is or what Patreon is a platform where fans of different content creators can be part of a community and help financially support the content creators that they like. And that's exactly what our patrons do. Our patrons help make every single episode, every single event, every single giveaway that we do. They make all of that possible. If you are a fan of the show, you like listening to us, like coming to events or watching us on YouTube, I would just ask that you consider partnering with us financially. Again, just helping us do everything that we do and help us to do more. The more support that we have, the more that we can do, the more that we can invest into the show. So I really, really appreciate all of our patrons. If you're interested at all in joining our Patreon, you can find us at patreon.com/the6man-show. I promise if you join our Patreon, you get a very special shout out. Every episode that we have brand new patrons, we do give them a special shout out. And then if you join at our Hall of Fame or Elite tier, we shout you out every single episode. You don't believe me? Watch me. I'll shout out Court Cousins, Drew Gooden, Armin, Carson Tulo, Jonathan Borges, Normal, Magic Player History, Gabe Gaines, Captain Wiffle, Michael Martin, Jamel Miller, Michael Salapong, The Distract, Donkey Punch Dave, Paolo and Francis Warmth, Pierre A. Pierre A was on our playback tonight. Really, really appreciate you stopping by, Pierre. Nostalgia and M&M's, Dylan Holden, Mr. Mikey, Eduardo Sanchez, Drum, Danimal, Dodo 15, Bobby Skinner, Goody 93, Teddy Sylvia, Eric Lopez, Fuchsia, Juan Geraldo, Bill Fulton, Edmund Lagone, Hosea Squealing, Destined for Greatness, Caleb Pete, Ken Listen, Time Mr. TV also was on our playback tonight. ESPN Really Sucks, Gear 95 Shred, Junior Bruce, Half Rican, Shahin 177, Bolby the Don, Himlo Ben Himro, RM Prof 221, Rapistron at Magic Kid 714, Spank Too Hard, Soft Taco, Jesse, Fuego Nando, Victor Cologne, Phantom 72, Irish Magic Mike, Austin Lampy, Random Hustle, Only Franz, Maria, Keith Wallace, Fritz, Currency Kev, and Bruv Sal. A big thank you to all of our wonderful patrons. You can find us at patreon.com/the6man-show. Luke, Monday, Pacers, Magic. Summer League blowout. Really, really, really tough game to watch for a number of reasons. Summer League is going to Summer League, of course. Magic lose 85-108, a true blowout loss. Magic shoot 40% from the floor. They shoot 18% from the three-point line. 15 turnovers in this one, Luke. Caleb Houston, you and I talked about this on the last episode that we wanted to see Caleb do a little bit more than just shoot threes. He finishes with 18 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. 5 of 10 from the floor, 1 of 5 from the three-point line, but 7 for 8 at the free throw line. Luke, what did you see from Caleb Houston or anything else that kind of jumped out at you in this one?
Yeah, you pretty much cover with Caleb and what we saw. We saw him be aggressive right out of the gate. 3-point shot wasn't falling early, ended up not falling really the whole game. Obviously, he had 1 out of the 5 that he took. But that was the note on playback, I think, that I had made early on, was that Caleb looking to attack is what he should have done and did do in that instance. The one thing that I will say, and the reason I don't really care if the Magic lost. I don't care if the Magic lose every game in the Summer League. But the thing that I do care about is that when it is a blowout like this, the reason it is so unbearable to watch is because your key players see a hit to their minutes. In this game, Jett Howard, 27 minutes, Anthony Black, 27 minutes. Whereas in the Knicks game that we'll talk about in a minute, both those guys play like 34, 35 minutes in the game. So we miss out on 7 to 8 game minutes from those guys in this blowout. Made it a little bit frustrating. I'd say Jett Howard stuck out to me just because of that performance that he had in game 1 against the Pistons, going 3 of 13 from the field. And he goes 4 of 9, 2 of 5 from 3. I mean, 40%. Not bad at all. And also has 5 assists. So Jett Howard getting the 5 assists there. And then Anthony Black was the other really key part of this. Those are the two main guys we're going to be looking at, obviously. But he struggles in this game. And that was really my takeaways, because really those are the only couple guys we're really looking at here.
Yeah, I felt like towards the end of the first Summer League game against the Pistons, like, all right, I've seen mostly what I need to see from these guys. Now I really just want to see them next to the guys on the main roster, like actual NBA guys. And that was only like further solidified in this game, against the Pacers. DJ Wilson and Elijah Hughes getting the start next to the main roster guys, Anthony Black, Jett Howard, Caleb Houston. Elijah Hughes really didn't play all that poorly, 14 points, 41% from the floor. I mean, for what you're asking him to do, kind of playing off Anthony Black, wasn't terrible. Robert Baker played for the Lakeland Magic last year out of Harvard. In 12 minutes, had 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 of 6 from the floor. I know we've talked a little bit, about guys, from this team that may potentially, get a two-way here for the Magic. Robert Baker is the guy early that I've kind of had circled. Now that changed a little bit for me tonight about in the next game. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but like we've talked about on the playback broadcasts, a guy like Kevon Harris, who did not play for the Magic Summer League, I believe played for a Minnesota Summer League team last year, and the Magic went out and signed him to a two-way deal. So I have a feeling that is going to be the case, to fill those 2 remaining two-way spots. No one on the Magic roster has really like overly impressed me to the point where I'm like, we need to sign that guy to a two-way. Has anybody done that for you?
The closest thing really was Robert Baker for those that qualify, and I am hoping that the slots are filled by guys that aren't on this roster in Summer League, to be quite honest. There's just nobody there that does much for me. Like, if Jett Howard and Anthony Black aren't in the game, there's nobody that I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad this guy's on the floor. Makes this game more bearable. They all make it pretty unbearable. They're all fighting for their lives, like for their careers. So I get it, but there's just, Summer League is Summer League, and that's really all there is to it.
Looking across, kind of the box score here, looking at the Pacers, Ben Mathurin, who, again, the Pacers were up by double digits for most of this game and late into the fourth, especially by like 20 plus. The fact that Ben Mathurin was in this game in like the final minutes, if I'm a Pacers fan, I'm like freaking out. I want Ben Mathurin at this point, not even in Summer League, if I'm being honest. But he finishes in 32 minutes, 17 points, 4 of 16 from the floor. Now, usually regular season and playoff NBA games, you can go to NBA.com, you can go into the box score, and you can go and view every single shot attempt from a specific player. Now, I admittedly did not want to go back and watch this entire Magic Pacers game again, but I do feel like a decent amount of those shot attempts that he missed were defended by Anthony Black. Anthony Black played Ben Mathurin defensively really well, I felt, in this game, and I think that some of that is reflected in Mathurin's poor shooting. But yeah, again, 108 to 85. I think my tweet after this was like, this was a very Summer League game. That's just the best way really to describe this. And then moving on to Wednesday night, tonight, we're recording this after the game. Magic losing an overtime thriller, 82-80. Magic, had a double-digit lead for a good part of the second half, and then going into the fourth quarter, the Magic had, I believe it was an 11-point lead going into the fourth because they only score 11 points in the fourth quarter, which obviously helped lead to the overtime. But apart from that fourth quarter, like the Magic were playing really well. Offensively, at least. Defensively, were just lapses, throughout the game. And, obviously these guys are not NBA players. So some of that is to be expected. But Jett Howard was 19 points in the first half. He had 3 points in the overtime period. Didn't score in regulation in the second half, Luke. But 22 points, 8 of 17 from the floor, 4 of 8 from behind the arc, added 3 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and a block. We were going pretty crazy over Jett Howard in the first half of this game.
I think the what you lost tonight with Jett was his assist numbers, obviously compared to the Pacers game, where he had 5 assists, and the Pistons game where he had 4 assists. But it didn't matter because Jett Howard was scoring wise the best that we had seen up to this point. Just seems like the game is getting slower. Our friends over at Through the Wire did a live show in Vegas. They had Cam Whitmore with them on the stage, and Cam Whitmore, they said, "What's been your impression of Summer League so far?" And Cam Whitmore said, "The game's fast. It's fast," and they said that they could see that, just how much he settled in from game 1 to game 2 even. And I think that's what we're seeing with Jett Howard too. I think if you ask Jett Howard, he'd probably say this game's fast, right? Like much of the same sentiment. And as the games are going on, he's getting more comfortable in his zone and learning what he can do and what he can't do. He's also just in a rhythm. Hadn't played basketball for how long? Since Michigan had played, and back in March. So he's just getting in a rhythm is what I think is happening. He's been able to do this stuff that he's doing. And that's why he shot as many shots as he did in games, like he had, like against the Pistons, where he shoots 13 times and only makes 3 shots. He knows he can make them. And tonight, just, man, some of the moves that he was making to get space, to create space from the 3-point line, he does it regularly. He gets enough space. He just has to hit the shot. And I'm very interested to see if that translates to being able to can he do that, create the space that he creates in Summer League? Can he do that at the NBA level when the lights are on and it's the regular season?
The only player right now on the roster that I think has like a similar like dribble package that can like effortlessly get into shots like that is probably Paolo. And Jett is definitely the better shooter right now. Like, Cole has, an offensive bag, but it's different from like these kind of like behind the back sidestep, kind of threes that we've been seeing from Jett in Summer League, especially tonight. Franz has the step back, but it's a little bit different. It's not quite as fluid. It is still very nice, don't get me wrong. But Jett is the only guy on this roster, and obviously he needs to do it in the regular season and do it consistently. But what we've seen from him in the Summer League has me really excited to see what he can do, in the second unit. Rookie year, we're probably just going to see flashes of that, at least, for the first couple of months. Maybe he just comes out and really impresses as a rookie. I would love that. But even with the struggle shooting the first game, he's 8 of 20 from behind the arc in Summer League so far. That's good for 40%. So you're telling me this kid is shooting 40%, on a decent amount of attempts per game. I think it's like 6 or 7 attempts per game right now. It was like 5 the first game, 7 the second game, and 8 tonight. So like the volume is there. So that's really encouraging. But tonight, and really, Anthony Black had that huge fourth quarter against the Detroit Pistons. But last couple of games has not been able to shoot the ball quite as well, I would say. Tonight it was like 8 points, but 14 rebounds for Anthony Black. Like really able to still find a way to make an impact on the game. I'm trying to pull up his shooting numbers here for the game. Yeah, 3 of 10 for tonight. Not great, but again, 8 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. I tweeted this out. I don't know that we talked about it on the last podcast episode, but he and Cole, like off the bench, if those guys are playing together, that's got to be one of the best rebounding backcourts in the entire league, like right away.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, he even did it. In the Pacers game, he had 5, I think, or 7 rebounds, and he had 5 against Detroit. So this is something he more than 5 rebounds a game is what he's getting right now, easily, right? So that is encouraging. What is not encouraging is the 6 of 22 from the field in 2 games of Summer League, the last 2 games. We will see what continues to develop with him. I do wonder how it goes. I really, for the sake of the second unit and for my sanity, I hope Cole Anthony is the Cole Anthony that we got to know the last 75% of the year, because I don't know if I can handle it. An inefficient night from Cole paired with Anthony Black's shooting as a rookie, which we know that's going to be rough, is what we can expect from the field. I would not be shocked if Anthony Black shoots sub 40% from the field this year.
I do think after the strong showing that he had in the first game, like in that first unit, like teams are like really laser focused on him, like especially on the ball, and just like the lack of spacing and just like overall organization. Guys, not making cuts, or they're making the cut, but they're making it like a half second too late, so they're not really as open as they would be. Like you can see him ready to make some of these passes, but guys are not creating separation like guys at the next level will. Like a guy like Markelle cutting, or a guy like Franz cutting. Like they'll be, those guys will be able to create better passing lanes for him, I think. But he's definitely struggling with the lack of spacing in Summer League. Like tonight against the Knicks, 10 of 28 for the Magic, 35%. And that is really buoyed by, Jett Howard, 4 of 8, and Dexter Dennis, 2 of 3. There's a lot of offers from the Magic roster tonight. Summer League, we don't want to overreact. The scouting report on Anthony Black going into the draft was that he really graded everything, not a great shooter. Now, we kind of just wanted to wait and see what it would look like in Summer League. So far, it's not looking great. I believe the only make that he's had in Summer League was that fourth quarter, the and one off the glass. Not only is he missing these, but some of these he's kind of missing a little bit wide. So I guess the concerns that I had going into Summer League about the shooting, they seem to be legitimate. We'll see if he is able to figure those out. If he can figure that out, the kid, he's already going to be fantastic, but that would just kind of take him to another level. So I still have questions just about the fit, whether it's next to, Markelle, or if it's, next to Jalen, or potentially even Cole, if, Cole, shooting, if it's not going in. So we'll really just have to see. But his feel for the game, the way that this kid rebounds and immediately picks his head up and is running the break and is looking for his teammates, and the way that, he's been able to get to the rim a lot of times whenever he wants, he's got some things to clean up. But overall, like from Jett, from Anthony Black, like we've seen enough flashes at this point for me to be like really excited for what we're going to see, come the regular season. And something that I hadn't thought about until tonight, like the last couple of years, preseason, the first couple of preseason games have not been all that entertaining. But now, like, you go up and down the roster and it's all guys that we are like emotionally invested in. So even preseason for me is going to be a lot of fun. Luke, now that we've seen these guys through 3 games, there's 2 Summer League games left. There's going to be the Portland game, tonight, Thursday as we're recording this, and then the Magic are going to get one more Summer League game. Do you think we see Anthony Black and Jett Howard at all for the rest of Summer League?
I think we should. I think that there was a play tonight that Jett came up kind of like limping and like holding his hip, That would be the only reason that I would think. But he stayed in the rest of the game. He played well. I didn't see any type of hindrance in his play. I think these guys just need all the reps they can get. This isn't a Paolo Banchero #1 pick, big body. I'm going to bully everybody. I'm probably not really getting better in summer league type of scenario. These guys need to just continue to get used to the speed of the game. They need to continue to take shots, make shots, work on what they've got and what they want to kind of perfect going into training camp. I think that I hope that they play the next couple games because they both could benefit. I'd love to see Jett just continue to do what he's doing. He did it on a smaller scale again, smaller volume against the Pacers. Really had his coming out party to me tonight against the Knicks. I would love to see him get some run. AB could absolutely benefit. Like you said, spacing is hurting him a little bit. He's forcing passes, in my opinion. Some going out of bounds, like just trying to make the right play, but also getting creative with his passing and his vision. I think that it can't hurt for them, both of them, to just play out the remainder of the summer league, even if it's smaller minutes. I think they just need as much reps as possible.
Yeah, the Jett thing is definitely going to be important to monitor and to watch. It seems like Kevon Harris, Caleb Houston didn't play tonight against the Knicks, so it seems like those guys are probably done. We haven't really seen a lot of guys like Jamal Bay, J.C. Butler, Amari Hardy. Elijah Hughes sat tonight as well. I think he said he rolled his ankle towards the end of the Pacers game. Drake Jeffries and then Kai Soto as well. Those are all guys that we just really haven't seen a ton of minutes out of. With 2 summer league games remaining, I would guess that we would start to see some more of those guys. So if we do see Anthony Black and Jett Howard again, I think it'll probably be in less minutes than we've seen. But I would agree they need all the reps that they can get. I had questions on whether or not they were going to play in Wednesday's game against the Knicks because Monday after the Pacers game, Dylan Murphy, the coach of the summer league team and now the head coach of the Osceola Magic, he was asked how much more are these guys going to play, and he just said, "I don't have an answer for that right now." So obviously, he's not making those decisions. It's it's Jamal Mosley, it's the front office, it's whoever. So, but yeah, I wouldn't hate to see those guys again. I would like to see Anthony Black especially go out on a little bit of a higher note because he seemed tonight to be playing a little bit frustrated, probably just with like some of the mistakes that he was making. Hasn't had the 7 turnovers that he had in the first game, but still I believe against the Pacers I think it was 4 turnovers tonight. It was 5 turnovers against the Knicks. So yeah, would just like to see it's hard because I don't think like the things that are kind of hindering Anthony Black, I don't see like the team situation getting better for him. Like he's just going to have to operate in sort of not great spacing and being like the focal point for the opposing defense.
Right. And listen, I just need him to just work on the shot, if anything else. And I mean, it is what it is. If he has an efficient nights, the rest of the appearances he has, like I said, it's reps, and that's really all it is. So shoot the ball when you get it, create your own shot, get to the rim, and do your thing. And also, when you're asking me how many games I think we see them in, to give you an idea, maybe they're not operating with the same frame of mind, but when Franz Wagner, as we know, 8th pick in the draft a couple years ago, he played 4 out of 5 summer league games. So maybe we see them play, next game and then they're out for the 5th. I don't know. Also, another note really is maybe, and I think we've said this before, but I guess we can't get too attached to what these guys are doing completely wrong. Correct. Or struggling in completely right. I was just looking up the Franz Wagner thing to see how many games he played. Josh Cohen, digital news manager for the Orlando Magic, he wrote an assessment of Franz Wagner. And funny enough, the highlight was that several of Wagner's baskets in Vegas came via cuts to the basket. As soon as he spotted a defenseless trail, he dashed to the hoop and finished with either a layup or a dunk, something he did a lot in college at the University of Michigan as well. Jett Howard, what does he do well? He shoots the ball. Forget the Pistons game. This guy shoots the ball well. He says in an interview tonight, my goal is to be one of the best shooters in the NBA. I think you could, you're not off path, in my opinion, right? Like, based on what we've seen, this guy can shoot 8 of 20 40% from three, like you said earlier. That's what he does well. Anthony Black, rebounding super well. I think that will definitely translate to the NBA. You just have to take the things that these guys are excelling in now and say, okay, it's a puzzle. There's a lot of question marks, but here are the pieces we can kind of say, this is going to do well, and these guys are going to excel in this area because they're crushing it at this level in summer league and whatever facet it is. But I think that's important too. Just much like Franz Wagner, he didn't have a stellar summer league. We talked about that, but off the ball, he's always been that, and that is something that is one of his greatest skills, is working off the ball at the NBA level. So I think it's just a good perspective to keep. These guys are fun, young, exciting players. It's easy to have recency bias and be like, oh, I only care about Jett now. Anthony Black just hasn't had great games. This is summer league. It doesn't mean a ton at the end of the day. Just take what you can from the positive and tuck away maybe some mental notes for things that they might be struggling right now, but it doesn't mean they're going to struggle with it, long term in the NBA.
Spitting bars. Hey, we didn't talk about Markelle Fultz cutting his hair.
He did do that. He did.
Dread's gone.
I love it. I saw looking at the picture, I was like, just looks like a grown man.
The streets are worried about his aura.
That's right. They are, but that's okay. I think this is just like bully ball Markelle is what it really feels like to me. We already know what he does. We know how strong he is, but he just looks like a just grown man. He had a little, when he smiles and stuff like that, a little bit of a baby face, but it just felt like with this haircut, this basically a buzz is what it looked like. I think it's a good look. I'm interested to see it in preseason.
I also don't think you can take somebody's aura out of like two photos that you saw, which are our writer and now reporter and newsbreaker, David Bernauer, was at the Vegas game, and he's the one that's taken those photos that have been circulated. Those are from pretty far away. They were candid photos. Let's not be concerned about Markelle Fultz losing his aura because he cut his dreads and because you saw a couple of far away photos. Mm-hmm. Like, let's just all, let's relax. I'm sure the aura is very much still there. That's my 2 cents about all of this. But yeah, people were upset that he cut the dreads. People were like legitimately not happy. Yeah. It was maybe it was like 50-50, but there were a lot of people that were unhappy. All right, Luke, I think that is going to do it for this one. Anything else?
No, that's it. Let's finish out Summer League. Do we know when that 5th game is going to be?
It's either going to be Saturday or Sunday. That okay. The schedule for that has not been announced yet, so we'll just have to keep an eye on it. For our sake,
hopefully it's Saturday. And
Saturday at 2:30 for me would be fantastic. I don't want like a Sunday night game because we record Sundays and
atrocious. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back on Monday to recap all of Summer League if Jett and AB played, and continue to carry us here to what's next stop? Training camp?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sweet. Let's do it.
All right. Don't forget, if you're listening to this on Thursday, tonight, 9 o'clock, Magic are playing Portland on ESPN2. Starting at 8:45, we will be on playback. So come and hang out. Just go to our social media pages. The links will be there. If not, it's playback.tv/6-man show Summer League. Looking forward to seeing you all there. We're going to wrap this one up for Luke Sylvia. This has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the 6-Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the 6th Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 6-Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!